Hello, Internet. So, sadly, there are some people on planet Earth that you should just avoid. I'm talking about the Dark Triad. And no, I'm not talking about a gang in China. I'm talking about something completely different. By the way, welcome to the Empirical Sword. I'm Lord Master DLC 79. I happen to believe that school doesn't teach, meaning we have to be the masters of our own education. Meaning we have to do this learning thing ourselves. And one of the things that I wish I had been taught so many years ago is that there are certain people you just want to avoid, and you need to learn the warning signs. So, the Dark Triad, it's a cluster of three types of personality traits or disorders. I'm not exactly up on the current psychological terminologies, so some of these may no longer be classified as personality disorders. But the big three are the narcissists, the psychopaths, and the Machiavellianists. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce that. That's a hard word to say. But first up, the narcissists. By the way, I'm like 99% certain that everybody on Earth has run into at least one of these. At least one of the Dark Triads. I personally went to high school with a lot of people from the Dark Triad. I currently work with a few people who score very high in the Dark Triad. But, getting back on topic, the narcissists, like the guy in Greek mythology, very self-involved. Vain may not be the right word to describe these people. Their self-involvement usually comes from some type of personal insecurity or inferiority complex that they try to overcompensate for. The guy who drives a Humvee because he's small somewhere else. The guy who's constantly boasting about his own abilities probably is overcompensating for something else. And usually, in addition to the overall boasting and the trying to make everything about themselves and trying to be the center of attention, they have like this little negative quality of perceiving certain things as personal attacks on them. Taking things personally when they really shouldn't. These are the type of people who are very, very rarely take constructive criticism well. It's always seen as like, are you saying I'm not good enough? That it's like, they're that insecure. And by the way, if you want to know more, just Google, because I'm trying to keep these videos short. So moving on to the psychopaths. And by the way, people can actually score very high in all three, not just one. That's when you're dealing with really toxic people, but psychopaths. Stereotypically, they are remorseless. That may be true in some cases, but more commonly they are known as the players. In the sense that they tend to treat other human beings as playthings, there for their own personal amusement. As long as they're being amused, they're having a good time, and it's fun for everybody. But as soon as they're not being amused, negative behaviors can come to the surface. I mean, mostly they'll just walk away. Others may become emotionally aggressive or even physically aggressive. And some may even be the Jeffrey Dahmer type, but I mean, not all of them. I mean, it's a stereotype that psychopaths are serial killers, but that's probably more like a 1% extreme. There are other extremes. A lot of psychopaths can be actually well-adjusted. In fact, there's a meme / joke on the internet that INTJs are socially well-adjusted psychopaths, or something like that. I don't know. We're not actually psychopaths, at least not all of us. Again, if you want to know more, Google the Machiavellian type. After the Italian author, they may call themselves master manipulators because that's kind of their thing. In fact, one of the guys I work with boasts that he is a master manipulator. Luckily, as an INTJ, I'm immune to that. He doesn't like that. But yes, these are the type of people who try to manipulate other people. Sometimes this can be confused with psychopathy. It's very nuanced, really. Psychopaths tend to be more of the remorseless, you're a plaything, the Machiavellian type. They're a little more. It's their own personal interests are what I mean. They're all three of these are related. This is why a lot of people who score high on one may score high on the others. And there's an actual test which I will link in the description for the one person who reads the description. But yeah, I mean, again, if you want to know more, Google. The point of this video is learn the warning signs of these people, the manipulators, the players, and the braggarts. To use common lingo and get away from the whole psychobabble, big words taken from ancient Greek and Italian. Learn the warning signs of these people, and I mean, you might think that we should help these people, and yes, we should, but these are very serious problems. A person with cancer, they have a serious problem. They need help. Do you have the expertise to help them? Probably not. They need to go to a very special kind of doctor to get that kind of help. People who score high in the dark triad, they need very special help. Most of us don't have the expertise needed to help them. In fact, if we try to spend time with them, we can find ourselves emotionally drained, psychologically drained, and it's just overall a toxic interaction that we should minimize our exposure to. That's why we need to learn these warning signs, which is what I wish had been taught so many years ago. And really, to me, and really, I feel like schools should be testing children for dark triad characteristics. Because there are a lot of people that I went to school with that I look back on. They were narcissists. They were psychopaths. They were Machiavellian types. They needed help back then. And I can only imagine what they grew up into. I mean, for all I know, they're even worse now. I mean, why do we not test for these things as early as possible? I mean, they made the entire school system kind of torture for me. I mean, I enjoyed the learning, but having to go into just be in the same room with these people who were acting out and just making things difficult for everyone else, including the teachers. I mean, they actually there was actually one day when we had a substitute teacher, and all these people, they just started ganging up against her, not listening, just throwing things and just acting out entirely. The substitute teacher cussed us out, walked out, and would not come back. That's how bad it got. Why were we not trying to identify these traits back then? And admittedly, it was the 80s, and we weren't quite as enlightened back then. Good movies, good music, not quite so enlightened. But we should really, really be aware of these traits, and just institutions like schools should be trying to direct these people as early as possible to the help they need, and the rest of us need to minimize our exposure for our own sanity.